The scenario here, the marketing team has been asked to activate the list audience built for sales in the previous exercise and to get a one-off email sent out to the media industry list regarding an upcoming webinar. They are new to account engagement and the email building features that it offers, but need to move quickly. So they begin to research their options. So just to kind of set the stage here a little bit, there are currently 2 email sending tools available in the system. About a year and a half ago, Salesforce rolled out a new drag and drop builder to production on top of what's now being called the classic builder. And that was the tool that myself and others in the industry have been working with for many years. They are both extremely solid tools for you to use. It's really a question of, in my opinion, it's a question of how is your personnel structured within your organization? What are the different skill levels and skill sets? If you're looking for a quick email building tool that's more clicks, not code, the new Lightning drag and drop experience could definitely be for your team. And we'll look at both of these. But if you have someone that's very HTML, CSS savvy and is used to having a little more control on that end of things, then the classic builder might be a good scenario and a good tool for you to use. So I have an example of both, and we'll kind of walk you through on a high level. And again, I'm going to be moving quickly on this, so just kind of bear with me here. We're going to go to the account engagement email tab, and this is where we're going to look at the classic version first. So this is where all of the classic email content is found. This is also where your preference page is, or preferences pages. If you have multiple, account engagement comes with the default out of the box. You can create as many custom ones as you want. So this is where you could edit that. We're going to open up this webinar classic email template. I'm going to click edit email template so I can show you the interface here. So inside of this interface, you can see that this isn't drag and drop. Like if I grab this, I'm not able to drag and drop and move it around. It's a content block based or region based, and you are required to have some pardot region tags and pardot repeatable tags in order for these to show up. As you see, as I hover over repeatable, it gives me the option to duplicate rows, remove rows, move the row down. So if I click duplicate row, we can see how easily that duplicated. And then as I hover over it, you can kind of see the border of that solidify into a bold font, so you know which block you're working with. And then I can click move row down. We can see that it jumped underneath the button there. Same thing on the button. I can click move row up. We can move that all the way to the top here. So it's very easy once you have those regions in place to duplicate, move things around. For those who want a little bit more control over the HTML and CSS, you do have that here where you can go into an HTML tab and you can go to town. You have access to all of your code. For those who aren't as HTML, CSS savvy, there are layouts that are available to you. So if you wanted to use the classic builder for some reason, you could use that, and you can pull in a layout that already has the pardot regions in the code, and it has placeholder images, placeholder text. It's already got a nice little layout template there for you that you can then fill in, duplicate which blocks you need to duplicate, things like that. So still very functional, I think, for teams, even if HTML and CSS is not your thing. As you can see, when we click into a block, it gives you access here to the WYSIWYG editor. These are not specific types of content blocks. So this, even though this is text, we could also add an image in here. So just to show you a quick example, we can go in here and grab this Facebook image. So you can see, you can do a combination. You can have images and text, or we can do separate text and image blocks. And then you have most of the functionality that you would have in a typical WYSIWYG or word processor. You also have this source code button, so you can do some inline styling for CSS on the fly if that's your thing. And we can also pull in merge fields or personalization fields. So you can see here we've already got recipient.firstname as an option, so that will dynamically pull in each prospect's first name. But we could add other merge fields here as well, based on the accounts, the organization. Under the other tag or section here is where you'll find some of the common ones that you'll need to use: email preference center, unsubscribe, view online, and things like that. And then recipient are all of your prospect fields that are available for you to pull in as personalization. There's also a feature which for time purposes, we're not really getting into a demonstration of today, but there's a feature called dynamic content. So this little lightning bolt here, if I had dynamic content blocks set up in my developer org here, I could pull them in. So the example here being the industry is a great example because you might have prospects that are part of different verticals, different industries, and you might want to show them different content in your email send based on which industry they're a part of. So the dynamic content allows you to basically set up content blocks or paragraphs of content that can change, and you'll have these different variations. You could have industry is media, industry is retail, industry is fins, nonprofit, whatever it might be. And then each individual prospect would change in the email based on which industry they're part of. So that's another great feature that is available in here as well. Just to give you an idea of how the typical flow of this goes, I am currently building out a new email template in the Classic Builder. So it's kind of a two-step process. You start with your email template. A lot of times you're going to set your initial branding. You're going to have your logo. You're going to have your social icons, maybe some text blocks or image placeholders, things like that. And then from there, after you publish that template, it's then available either to use as a list email send in the system. So that would fit the use case of a newsletter type of send or a one-off send, or it's available as a triggered type of send, an autoresponder email or an engagement studio program. So obviously, if you're using it for a triggered send, you want to make sure that you've got the template completely polished. You want to have your subject line in place. You want to have your sender information, all of that already in place before you publish. But if you're using it for a list email, a lot of times clients will have a basic template in place with their branding and some lorem ipsum or image placeholders. And then there's other end users that might come in and add the actual copy for that month's newsletter and send it out. So those are a couple of different ways that you can do that. I want to show you the list email option here in the system. So I'm going to click out of here. We're going to go to drafts, click leave, and just kind of walk you through what this process looks like. So again, this is like a newsletter type of send or one-off. Just call this list email example. Throw a number on there. Throw it in our 2023 demo folder. We do have to choose a campaign to associate with this particular send. So I'm going to grab my testing campaign. You also have to select which tracker domain if you have multiple in your org, and that is for branding purposes. So any images or files that you have associated with that email will have your branding. We use success.plative.com for ours, but a lot of clients use things like go.clientname.com, assets.marketing. It's really anything you want as that word in front of the subdomain, whatever accurately represents how you want to do your branding. And then down here at the bottom, another call out as we're getting into this interface is A and B testing, which is currently available in the Classic Builder. It's not yet available in the Lightning Builder. I've heard that it's on the roadmap for future though. So if you wanted to do that right now, you would want to use the Classic. And then we're going to pull in the webinar Classic email, click apply. This is going to look almost identical to the email template builder we were just looking at, except for the fact that you have these A and B variations. So it's going to allow you to try out some different things and see what works best before you hit send to the rest of your audience. You'll have a test audience, and then you'll have a send audience based on which variation works best. Moving to the testing tab, the other thing that I wanted to call out here is you do have the ability to do litmus renders from within this builder. And what will happen here is if you click new render, it'll take a few minutes for it to populate, but it'll give you these proofs that will show you what your email would look like in different email service providers like Outlook, Gmail, or desktop versus mobile, or even as granular as different versions of iPhone operating systems and iPads, things like that. It'll show you exactly what your email is going to look like on those devices and different email service providers. So that's a really neat tool in the system. And then as we go into the sending tab here, we also have the option. Well, we don't have the option. It's a list email, and account engagement is such a list-oriented system here. So you do have to select a list to feed this. So I'm going to grab our top of mind program that we just looked at, pull that in. You'll notice here on the right that the total mailable prospects are 4. That's what I anticipated. And currently we have a test audience of 1 and a winning audience of 3. We'll look at that setting down at the bottom here in a second. You'll also see the main difference on this sending tab from if you were in the email template tab is you have A and B options for sender, custom reply to address, and subject line. So you can tweak that and experiment with different variations and see what's working with your audience database. And then under A and B test, you have to select how long you want to run the test before a winner is selected. You also have to select the criteria, and then you have a little slider here that allows you to move between 10 and 50%. So we could say, let's do 50%, test it to 2 subscribers, and send the winning email to the remaining. And then down at the bottom, we have completion actions, which we've talked about a little bit, but for the first time, this is what it looks like in the system. Again, a lot of these interfaces are going to start looking familiar after you've been in one of them, because this looks pretty similar to a dynamic list. It's just going to have a little bit different options than what a dynamic list has. But here, a common use case, somebody clicks a link in an email, you might want to notify a user, or you might want to notify multiple users. So I could notify myself, could also notify Janice Jones that that link has been clicked. And lots of other great things you can do here. You can adjust people's scores on the fly if they've clicked the link. You can add them to other lists or other campaigns. Account engagement has a really cool feature called tags, which really comes into play also when we get into the CRM analytics conversation later today, as you can use tags to filter your dashboards and provide a good level of granularity there. And then the other neat thing I'll point out real quick, and then I'll move on to the next exercise for time purposes, or into the Lightning Builder and then into the next exercise. We do have the Create Salesforce task, which is an option here, so that's really nice. And then once you are ready to send a list email from the Classic Builder, you would want to save it, and then you can either schedule it to send or you can click Send Now. So that's the Classic Builder. Again, definitely geared towards someone who has someone that's at least comfortable with HTML and CSS. From my perspective, you don't have to be an expert. You just maybe have to be able to click around a little bit and read some of the code and make sure you have your content regions in place, stuff like that. On to the Lightning Builder. Let's get into that. So there are 2 different tabs for the Lightning Builder, and similar process the way my mind thinks about the new Lightning Builder in comparison to how the Classic functioned. In Classic, you had your email template that you built, and then you published it, and then you can either use a list email to send it or a triggered type of send. So similarly, in the Lightning Builder, we have the email templates tab where you can go, you can create your email template, and you can set your branding. The other great thing about the Lightning Builder is you have access to a CMS workspace, and you can create multiple workspaces within your organization. So you can sort of control the flow of your marketing content and who has access to that. You know, a lot of times in organizations, you're working with multiple business units, or there's just multiple departments or teams. You don't necessarily want all users to have visibility into all of your content that's going out, right? So you can create multiple workspaces, and then you can share that with the different subsets of users. So that's one of the great things about the email template side on the Lightning Builder. I'm going to focus on showing you the email content tab today because we can see everything we need to see from within this interface. And in the Lightning Builder, this is really where all the action happens. This is where you're going to activate your email, make it available for automations or triggered sends. It's also where you can send out your test emails or send out a list email type of send as well. So you'll see here we have some message content. We have the HTML body. We also have the text body down here. And then we have the engagement metrics section right on this email content page. Think of the email content as email send, okay? So anytime we're talking about this, it's in relation to an email send of some sort, whether that's triggered or whether that's user initiated. And then let's look at where the magic happens though, because that's what you all are here for today, right? Let's look at this new drag and drop builder. We can click edit in builder, and you'll see that I already have the shell of the template in place here that I've built. We'll look at some of how you can click into this and see some of the different options for styling and whatnot. But on the left here, just to give you a quick overview, you have the standard components that come out of the box. There are also other custom components that are available through the App Exchange, and you can build custom components as well to use in your emails. But a lot of our clients have gotten by okay using these, and these meet most of the needs. So we have a button component, we have HTML, image, and rich text. You can see that it's very easy to drag these onto your layout and then also move them around on your layout, sliding them up or down. I'm going to delete those back out so that we're not muddying the waters there. The other thing that I'll show you in relation to the out-of-the-box components here is there's a layout tab here which allows you to pull in columns. So for anyone on the call who has done some HTML and CSS in any marketing automation platform in the past where you've had to try to build out your tables within tables and you're trying to put an image on the left and a text block on the right within the same row, you know that can be an absolute PETA score of 100, right? It's not an easy process to have to deal with. Look at how easy it is for us to drag this into this template in the drag and drop builder. And then if we click in and then drag this over to see it a little better, you can edit this on the fly. So after I drug in the 3, if I decide that, oh no, I only want 2 columns, or maybe I'm gonna get real adventurous and we're gonna have 5 columns going on here. You can do all of that on the fly, and then you can go in, you can adjust your column width. Super simple and really simplifies the user experience when you're dealing with columns inside of your email templates. So I'll pull that back out, and then just to kind of show you some of the different blocks, we have an image block up here, which gives you some different content options. This is where we selected from our CMS and pulled in the Plative logo. Have a workspace called Aaron Space in my developer org here. You can add your image, alt text, your link URLs, and then styling. You have a few options here too, where we can move things around, change our width, things like that. Then if you click into the rich text, it's going to give you a WYSIWYG editor, very similar to the classic. Gives you the basic functionality that you need here. Again, we have a source code button, so you could go in and do some inline styling, things like that. And then you have the merge fields button down here, so that's where it's located in the Lightning Builder, but same concept, we can pull in the different merge fields inside of our email template and personalize our emails that way. And then down here, I want to show you this button. This is one of the other huge value adds for the Lightning drag and drop. Previously in the classic builder, if you needed to add a button, you would have to go in and you would have to somewhat code that out. Now you could Google it and find a bulletproof button generator, paste that code in your template pretty easily. But look how easy this is. We just drag in the button, and then we have the options to set our button text. We have our link URL of where we want to go when you click that button. And then under style, we've got some good options here. We've added our nice plative red there as our color. We've added some corner radius to round those corners a little bit. And then button size, the other thing I'll show you is you can specify the button width. So if we deselect that, it's going to give us a smaller button. If we reselect it, it's going to give us the width of the screen. And then if I go under button width and type in 50, that's going to get me back to where I was originally. So I love that button feature. As you can see, super simple for your end users to come in here using clicks, not code, and use this Lightning Builder and be up and running within minutes. I'm talking 5 to 10 minutes, you can have an email ready to go out the door. And again, you're reducing the amount of time involved in your processes so that your users of your organization can spend their time trying to close the deals. We're not having to go in and spend a lot of time to do these things. When you're done, you want to make sure you hit save. And then you want to click back to go out, and then I'll show you the next steps here. This little drop down is where all of the next steps will take place. You're able to go in, you can preview as a particular prospect. So we can type in J. Jonah, and we can see that the recipient first name is working and populating inside of that email. We click done. We also have the ability to do a test send. For time purposes, I'll just show you these other two here. This is where you would activate your email if you wanted to use it in an engagement studio program. And then you can select your campaign, your primary sender, all of that good stuff, and then click activate. And then this is where you would send out an email using the new Lightning Builder. So we'll select marketing email and then select our campaign, select our tracker domain, recipient list, any suppression list that you want to put on the send, primary send to reply to, and then again, you have completion actions. Just looks a little more Salesforce Lightning on this side of the house than it did on the other side. And then we can send now, or we can send later. And that is the exercise for emails. We looked at the different options. Again, it depends on you and your organization. So I would encourage you to have those conversations, determine what your end user makeup is like and what kind of skill set you have in determining whether you want to use Classic or Lightning. Both great tools.